Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Maricopa County Community College District Governing Board for January 23rd of 2018. Thank you for joining us this evening. We'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Johan Hernandez Diaz.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Substitutions tonight, we have Dr. Tanisha Maxwell for Dr. Paul Dale, Dr. Cassandra Kakar for Dr. Chris Haynes, Maggie McConnell for Leslie Cooper. Student life reports. Chandler Gilbert Community College.
President Hendricks, members of the board, Dr. Harper Marinick, members of the CEC, and guests. Thank you for sharing your time with me tonight. I am very happy to be here. So I want to start off with perhaps our biggest celebration at Chandler Gilbert this past semester. And that was our 25th anniversary celebration. And here we had food, we had a DJ, we had games, and we also reminisced on pictures, artifacts, and memories that we've collected over the past 25 years. We also had a time capsule in which we were able to get some things that we collected, and that was a lot of fun. And I also want to touch a bit on a really fun event that I didn't really want to share because it's a bit embarrassing, but we're going to share it anyways. And that was basketball night. And so this was faculty and staff versus students, right? This took place during the men's half basketball game, halftime. And students did lose. We got schooled that day. But you know what? Nevertheless, it was a fun event. And it was spoken about for the next 3 weeks. So we will definitely be doing that more periodically. So our clubs hosted a lot of events this past semester. But here are some of the ones that stood out to me the most. One of them was Feed My Starving Children. And so as president of the Associated Student of Chandler Gilbert Community College, one of my main goals was to have the clubs interact and collaborate more to achieve common goals. And Feed My Starving Children was one of the events that clubs picked and opened that up for the rest of the clubs, and they all basically took over the building because they support each other. The next one was Dress for Success Gala, and that was hosted by Women's Rising. And so at this event, we had some young ladies from the college go to the Scottsdale Resort, and there, before going there, they prepared on their etiquette while dining, in the way they present themselves, dress, and all that. Anyway, they had a great time, and as you can see, there's a picture of them on the top left. The next one is Veterans Day Run. And so this was hosted by the Student Veterans Organization. And so they woke up really early on a Saturday morning and met on campus at 6 a.m. And so it was a challenge, right? Because they had to run a mile under 15 minutes. But as you can see, they had a backpack that weighed 60 pounds. And so that alone was a challenge, but it was really fun. Another event was Repair and Repurpose, and this was just hosted by an environmental club. And so they took old shirts and turned them into bags that they use, and students loved that. So that stood out to me. Cards for Warriors. This was just an event to raise money for wounded warriors. Another one was Sidewalk Chalk. This was probably the most interactive among the students on campus. So what happened was a new club that just started last semester, Comic Book Club, they reserved a spot in the middle of campus, right? And they had chalk, and students could just go and relieve stress get their artistic side out and start drawing. It was amazing because you would just see a group of students, sketching out on the walk, and that was an amazing event. Turkey Tuesday, and then we had the Brown Bag Series, which again has to do with all the clubs getting together and reaching to complete common goals, right? So we're actually very happy to announce that we have a new mini food bank on campus, and we call it Coyote Cupboard. And so it's a partnership with a local food bank for non-perishable foods accessible to students, faculty, and staff, and everyone that needs them, right? We have them at both locations, Pecos and Williams. And to me, that's awesome because a hungry student is a student that can't really focus because obviously that's a basic necessity, and so we're happy to have that. And I also plan on creating a sustainable system in which students, staff, and faculty can contribute to this bank so that it can stay stocked and students can just go and grab what they need. But I want to conclude by saying that after reflecting, on the campus being 25 years since it started, its success is due to the great students, but more than that, the faculty, the staff, the administration, and of course, from the support of the governing board. And I see that as a student, it's been an awesome journey. This is my last semester there, and I look forward to what's next, but it's been amazing. At this point, if you have any questions, I would love to answer them.
Ms. Livingston.
First of all, where are you going after you complete your year?
ASU.
Woohoo!
Yeah, right.
Okay.
UFA fans are like, boo,
Yeah,
but that's
no. I'm a Sparky for life.
There we go.
Second of all, thank you so much for creating the mini food bank and preparing to carry that on. I do hope you're training somebody to continue that because the best thing about our colleges, other than the professors and the classes, the class sizes, is the way that we incorporate community. And that's not something that, well, ASU's fantastic because I'm a devil, but we're so different in that community atmosphere. So thank you very much for doing that.
Of course. All right. If that's it, thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you. Good job. As many of you have heard, Mr. Alfredo Gutierrez will be resigning from our governing board, and tonight is his final board meeting. On behalf of the board, I'd like to thank Mr. Gutierrez for his dedicated leadership and steadfast service to our community. And I've got several more lines of a script here, but I don't really need a script to comment on the accolades of Mr. Gutierrez. What I would probably need is more time. I'm going to make my own comments later in the meeting, but I'd like to start by having a few invited guests make comments in recognition of Mr. Gutierrez. To start with Mr. Mike Mitchell.
President Hendricks, members of the governing board, Chancellor, members of CEC, and guests. As this meeting of the Maricopa Community College District Governing Board marks the last with board member Alfredo Gutierrez, the Maricopa Community Colleges Faculty Association would like to take a moment to honor Mr. Gutierrez. The faculty of the Maricopa Community College District hereby acknowledge and thank governing board member Alfredo Gutierrez for his service on this board. His dedication and commitment to our students, our community, and our faculty and staff over these years has been instrumental to the cause of higher education. Mr. Gutierrez has been an ardent, vocal supporter of the values which undergird teaching and learning. He has welcomed dialogue, he has provided counsel and advice. He has, in every regard, been a praiseworthy public servant whose impact shall endure long after his departure. We wish him health, prosperity, and happiness. And on a personal note, it has been a pleasure and an honor to have known you in the time that I've been allowed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Ms. Petra Falcone.
Well, good evening, everyone, and members of the College Board, and thank you for inviting me to be here this evening. It wasn't a big ask. Yes, I'll come this evening because I wanted to be here to be able to celebrate tonight with Alfredo and our community. I remember meeting him on ASU campus many years ago. Okay, it was 1972. And I would have to say that that's when I first got the experience of fighting for our community, because we were fighting for the recruitment of students of color at that time at the ASU campus. And then later on, we were out in the fields fighting with the farm workers. But I would have to say, in the last 4 decades that I've known the Honorable Gutierrez, I think that it has been about learning from him, because he models leadership, because he models courage, because he models what we have to do, and that is to fight for doing the right thing, and doing the right thing for our young people, doing the right thing for our community, doing the right thing for family. So again, I'm so happy to be here sharing this moment with you. Thank you for letting us celebrate your political public life that I know is not going to end with this evening, but I do know that it's important that we are here with you so that we can celebrate and your achievements and your future achievements, because I do know that we have a lot of work to do. So thank you, and thank you for giving your life and your sacrifice to us. Thank you.
The Honorable Mary Rose Wilcox.
Thank you, President Hendricks and members of the board. Alfredo Gutierrez. When I heard about Alfredo wanting to resign, it was real bittersweet, because Alfredo has brought to this board, as you all well know, his intellect, his intelligence, bar none, is so prevalent in our community. Alfredo is a Hispanic leader and leader of all people in Arizona who we just really treasure. I have known him for the last 50 years. My husband and I, in fact, were introduced by Alfredo, so I think he wanted us to be his soldiers, and that's why he introduced us. And then we were. But as Mrs. Falcon said, when Alfredo first started, we all knew he was something special. He was smart. He knew how to handle major situations. I remember being at ASU, and we sat in the president's office because our laundry workers, who were predominantly Hispanic, were being mistreated. And Alfredo organized the first Mexican-American student organization and said, if we don't speak up, who will? And he took his leadership and he helped us all become leaders. But more importantly, he kept being in leadership position. He came into the communities of Phoenix. He comes from Miami, Arizona, the Copper Corridor. And he came in after ASU, after serving in the service and giving to his country. He came down, he organized 3 of our biggest nonprofits, Chicanos por la Causa, Valle de Sol, and one called Barrio Youth Project. He organized them because he knew we needed them. There was a lot of discrimination, still is. There's a lack of diversity, still is. And Alfredo said, we need to change things. And then he became a political leader and ushered in an era where a lot of people who look like me, who look like Art Hamilton, who look like people that don't traditionally get into elected office started getting elected, because he said, if we are not at the boards, if we are not advocating for our community, who will? And he forced us all to open up our hearts, open up our minds, and work for the community. And then he went a step further. His role as state senator, and I'm sure Art Hamilton will tell you a lot more than me, he changed the whole equation for health care for the poor in our community. He gave us health care that was by choice for people, not just forced on them. And he became a leader in the state Senate. We were very proud of him because, again, his eloquence, his intellect came through, and he could take on the best of them, either in his advocacy or coalescing with them, and deliver for our community and the state of Arizona. We are so proud of him. And my husband and I, who couldn't be here tonight, just want to tell you, I hope you realize what a gem you have. I hope when you replace him with diversity. Nobody can ever replace him, but I think Alfredo will mentor that person and make sure that they do right by our community. So Alfredo, our great leader, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I want to just say that vaya con Dios, Alfredo. I know that your next steps will be big ones. And I know you'll never leave our community, and you'll keep giving and giving, and you'll force all of us to be better people. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final speaker will be the Honorable Art Hamilton.
President, thank you. Members of the board, distinguished leaders in the community college system, Senator Gutierrez. Alfredo and I started together campaigning for the legislature in the same year. I had hair. His was black. It's been a while, like 46 years, a while. And yet, the friendship that we established early on remains today and probably is stronger than ever. Because of Alfredo, I have had a chance to go to more retirement celebrations than the head of the Social Security Administration. And all of them have been a little bittersweet. But at the end of the day, I had the privilege of serving in my 34 years in the state legislature with two people, a lot of great people, but two people who changed my life. Burton Barr was one. Alfredo Gutierrez was the second. When he was first elected and I was there, we used to muse about the idea of having a community college in South Phoenix. Every time I drive down 24th Street near Baseline and I see South Mountain Community College, I think about Alfredo and the debt we owe him. I had the privilege of going back to the District of Columbia when we were trying to get a Medicaid program established in this state, and Alfredo led that delegation. And every time I see people served by that program, I think about my good friend. When we did the education finance law that nobody thought we could get passed, but he led that fight and we got that done. So at the end of the day, what I know for sure is we are all better off for his sacrifice, his service, his leadership, his guidance, and his courage. Native Americans are fond of saying that you do not inherit this land from your parents, you borrow it from your children. And because of Alfredo, we leave this place far, far better than the way we inherited it. If in fact the measure of a person and their life is how much they're willing not to take, but to give, Alfredo Gutierrez not only is, but will remain one of the greatest human beings I've had the high privilege of knowing. The debt of gratitude we owe is immense. In my lifetime, I've seen people receive many, many, many awards. Alfredo is one human being who has deserved every award he's been given. But more importantly, because I know him well, I know he didn't get half of the awards his life deserved. He will continue to be of service. He will go out and find another mountain to climb. He always does. And the fact of the matter is, all of those who know him and love him will be there to climb those mountains with him and support him. We always have, we always will. Go with God, my brother.
We will proceed with comments by members of the board, but I'll caution everyone that Mr. Gutierrez, if he so chooses, will be the last speaker. So he'll have the opportunity to refute any comments that you make. Does it work? Ms. McGrath.
Thank you. I too, as Mr. Hamilton, feel that this is a bittersweet evening. I have sat on many boards in many government services, and I have never enjoyed sitting next to someone as much as I have enjoyed sitting next to Mr. Gutierrez. He makes the meetings bearable. His sense of humor is just wonderful, and he's very, very good about taking a point and bringing it right down and getting rid of all the chaff and showing you where the wheat is. And I have thoroughly enjoyed having this wonderful opportunity of serving with you. Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez.
Mrs. Haber.
I have really enjoyed getting to know Mr. Gutierrez. I used to watch him on television. I think we all know him as quite an important icon to our community. Something that really stands out in my mind is his book, To Sin Against Hope. That title alone tells you something that is so important in this community, in this country, in this world, that when people have no hope, that shouldn't be allowed. People should always have hope, have reason to believe that tomorrow will be a better day if today hasn't been so good. His book is a personal history, and it's sort of mixed with the history of all Hispanics and then his own experiences. I would highly recommend it. I found it to be a book I could hardly put down. I learned a lot. And that's what he wrote in the front of it. He said, I hope that this teaches you something, or something like that, or I hope you learn from this. And I did. That on the board, he really did a magnificent job when we were in a pretty difficult place. We lost our chancellor, and there was some friction that was going on, and he knew exactly what to do. He just took the bull by the horns and got the job done. And I was just quite amazed. I couldn't imagine anybody else being able to do what he did that brought us to a grand conclusion with a wonderful new chancellor. And so I will always remember him, and I will treasure the friendship that I was able to develop with him. And I think I hope I see him again. And I thank him for the lessons that I have learned from him.
Thank you. Ms. Livingston.
Mr. Gutierrez, I can honestly say we have not always seen eye to eye. But that never mattered to me. What mattered to me is that you always listened. You always listened not only to my comments, but the comments of all your fellow board members. And you didn't just hear the words, you digested them. You took them in. You pondered them. And that, to me, is the measure of a true man. I wish you nothing but the greatest mountain to climb, the longest life to lead, and the greatest health as you live it. Thank you very much, sir. It's been a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you, Mrs. Livingston. Mr. Saar.
Well, much of what I want to say has been said regarding Alfredo and his service on this board. We go back the longest of anybody on the board. When I first met him here, I had heard of him, as many have said. I moved to the Valley in around 1982, and he was prominent in the news along with others that were there at the time, and made a big difference in what we have here in Arizona today because of their work. And now I got a chance to spend some time with him on this board. And beyond just what we do here, because we are pretty much on opposite sides of the political spectrum, but he's become a close friend, and I look, I look forward to many more years of friendship along with Sharon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saar. Dr. Thor.
Mr. Gutierrez, like so many others here tonight, I want to thank you for your strong leadership, not only on this board, but throughout your long and impressive political career. You were an inspiration to me when I was president of Rio Salado College and worked with you as a legislator, and then later in your consulting work. and you have continued to be an inspiration to me as you are to countless others. Your legacy is unbelievable. Your contributions to this community just go on and on and on, and we all thank you for that. I want to commend you for your service. I mean, you are the hardest working board member that I have ever seen in my 40-some years with community colleges. And I commend you also for your passion, your dedication, and for your tireless commitment to equity and social justice. So I wish you good health and much happiness for many, many years to come. And I hope that you will stay in touch with us.
Thank you, Dr. Thor. Chancellor Harper-Marinick.
Thank you, Mr. Hendricks. On behalf of all of us in Maricopa, Mr. Gutierrez, thank you for your service. You brought a sense of urgency to this work that may not have been appreciated all the time, but it will be long-lasting. And I want to thank you for pushing us to do more, to do better, and to do it faster. And I just want to assure you that all your efforts will not be in vain, that you had set us on a course of moving forward and never forgetting why we are doing the work we do. And we will honor you with better, faster as we do this work. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. As I've listened to my colleagues, they haven't offered much fodder for Mr. Gutierrez to respond to when he has his turn to speak here next. I will do my best to help out with that so he won't be at a loss for words. When I was elected to the board, many people told me that Mr. Gutierrez and I wouldn't get along because we'd be on the opposite side of most issues. And we probably were. But when I talk to people today and they ask me about Mr. Gutierrez, I describe him as my friend. I enjoy spending time with him. I enjoy his company. And my colleagues have gone on about his many accolades, and I'm sure we could spend much more time talking about his accomplishments. I'd like to talk about him as a friend, because what he is to me more than anything else is he's my friend. I live in Gilbert, he lives in Phoenix. When we first started meeting for breakfast, we'd meet in the mill, so nobody had to drive too far. And I quickly learned that he knows every little small restaurant in Phoenix that has 3 tables in a backyard somewhere. I can't even imagine where they all come from or how he found them all. He took me to one place, they let oatmeal sit out overnight, so it's nice and rotten in the morning, and it's excellent. It's fantastic. I couldn't tell you the name of the place, but he knows I like oatmeal, and he teases me about it. He took me to a pizza place. We went in through the back door and through a dark hallway and through a kitchen. Everybody knows him. It's like eating with the Godfather when you finally get to the table. I couldn't tell you how many places he's taken to me. So now we don't meet halfway. I drive to Phoenix because I want to see where the next place is he's going to come up with, and I can never find it twice. So I have to go back with him so I can go to the same place a second time. It's truly pleasurable to meet him for breakfast, which we do on a regular basis. We're both early risers, so we usually get there about the time the cook gets there. I remember first time we went out, he took me to a place, I believe it's owned by Miss Wilcox. I may be mistaken, but I believe so. And we got there about 7 o'clock in the morning or 6:30 when they opened, and the waiter comes over, and I hope I'm not making bad publicity here. That's not my intent. I'm just telling the story. But waiter comes over and he says, the cook's not here yet, but I can bring you coffee. So we had coffee, and shortly thereafter the cook showed up and we had breakfast, and it was excellent. It was a great experience, but I don't know where he finds these places. He must just drive around town looking for them so he can invite me to breakfast and then tell me he's been there. And, we were together a few weeks ago, and we were talking, and Mr. Gutierrez served in the Special Forces in Korea. And we were talking about Korea because my father served in Korea. And he made the comment, he says, when I was there, he says, you can never get warm. He says, you're just cold all the time. And I've thought about that the last week or so. I've never been to war, and I hope I never see war. But I'm just trying to imagine what's it like you're serving your country, and one of your memories is you're cold all the time. I mean, what does it take to serve like that? And I can't answer that, but it's just something that impressed me, just the comment that you're just cold all the time. We've talked about his time in service in the legislature when he trained new governors, some that were resistant to take the office that they were pushed into as a result of perhaps a governor moving on and another one coming in. And he talks about stories from the past there. He talks about our previous chancellor and our current chancellor and challenges here in Maricopa County. It's enthusing listening to the knowledge he has and the history he has. Reminds me about my wife watches this road show for antiques on television. I know the guy always says, if antiques could talk, what stories would they tell? And I can only guess what some of those stories would be from my breakfast with Mr. Gutierrez. And I mean that affectionately. And one of my favorite things about serving with Mr. Gutierrez as we're here is we can scowl and grimace at each other, we can debate, we can argue. One of the best things is anytime you have a debate and discussion, someone has to be right and someone has to be wrong. And I can't think of anyone who can articulate the wrong position better than Mr. Gutierrez. And I appreciate that tremendously. Tremendously, I appreciate that. But all joking aside, I have tremendous admiration and respect for Mr. Gutierrez. It's been a pleasure to serve with him. We had our last breakfast last week when he handed me his resignation, the last thing I said is, no, we can't stop meeting. We've got to keep going for day-old oatmeal. We've got to go to that pizza place where I got to sneak through the parking lot. This can't be the end of our meetings just because you're leaving the board. That would be more than I can deal with. We've got to stay in touch, and I appreciate all that you've done, and it's been a pleasure to serve with you. Mr. Gutierrez, it's your turn.
Let me assure you that I'm not dead, nor do I intend to die soon. Look, the reason we're here is obviously I had a pretty horrific accident, and it caused two things. One of them is a swollen brain as a consequence. Now, many of you thought I've always had a swollen head and could not see the difference. But apparently there was a difference, and that period of recuperation also caused something else, and that is a serious contemplation on something that I urge all of you to contemplate about, and that is mortality. The realization that I have probably 7 or 8 good years left, and I need to go find that challenge that Art Hamilton talked about. And so my leaving is focused on those two things. One is continuing my recuperation, and the other is finding that great new challenge, which I am certain I will do. I am happy that Mr. Hendricks feels that I am articulate and compelling and persuasive in my positions. I find it sad that he has so little understanding as to be persuaded, but presumably in time that will happen. He is correct. When he first arrived on the board, I thought him to be hopeless. And I want you to know that it isn't so. There's still hope for him. And so you should not lose hope. Look, to all of you who spoke, and to all of you in this room, I came on this board for one reason, because I felt the legislature was abandoning the most serious effort to enter into the middle class for people of color, for people who are poor, for people who are struggling. This is, I said at the time, the greatest civil rights structure in this country and in this state. The hundreds of thousands of people that we serve, we don't provide them with an education. And the faculty does a marvelous job of the mechanics of it. We provide them with a hope for a lifetime. We provide them with a bridge for a future with hope. We provide them with the ability to have children who have hope. That's what we do. And each of you should see yourselves as educators and administrators, but you should also see yourselves as part of the greatest civil rights structure, the greatest equal rights structure that this state has ever conceived of. That's why I came on this board, because I felt the legislature was about to abandon it, and we had to fight back. I still feel that way. I won't be here with you to fight back with you, but I am confident that you will, and that you will not lose direction, that you will not lose motivation, and that we will keep going. To Ms. Petra Falcon, who said that we met in 68, we are indeed, rather in 72, we are indeed getting older. It was 68. We're older than we want to admit. And to Mr. Hamilton, I just want to share something with you. Mr. Hamilton and I were elected in the same year with sister districts, that is, districts that abutted each other. And we were the two youngest members of the legislature. Mr. Hamilton is a few months younger than I am. The two youngest members of the legislature. A few years later, we would be the two youngest members of the leadership. I would become majority leader 2 years. 2 years after arriving, God knows why, my peers elected me majority leader, and I would serve in the leadership for the remainder of my term. Mr. Hamilton became leader, perhaps I think it was 2 years later, and remained in the leadership for 20-some years. I mention that because we have been at this a very long time. We have been fighting for justice a very long time. And as the Chancellor mentioned, I do things with a sense of urgency because urgency is necessary. Urgency is necessary, and even more so today than ever. And you need to serve with urgency. This is not a position for bureaucrats. This is not a mission for those who want to be comfortable for 25 or 30 years and retire. This is a calling. You have been called upon, and you must deliver. So with that, I've been promised a recess, and then I'm going to sneak out of this room. However, let me say this. For those of you who are in your hearts celebrating my about-to-be absence, I just want to assure you, don't get too comfortable. I'm not going very far. And I have a history of raising hell. So don't screw it up, or I'm going to be back. Thank you all very, very much. That's enough already. Sit down.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez. Given the occasion, I'm not going to make any corrections. Chancellor, if you could please join me at the podium, we will present Mr. Gutierrez with a plaque in recognition of his service to Maricopa.
Just what I needed. Jesus, in front. An ounce of legal marijuana.
You know, I texted Mr. Gutierrez the other day and warned him we were going to have some recognition here, and he threatened to not come. He said he's not big on this recognition. But he's got a wonderful lady and his wife that he said was going to push him to be here, and I'm glad she did that. At this point, we're going to take a recess. We have set up the employee lounge downstairs. If anyone would like to meet with Mr. Gutierrez, I'm sure you would, and wish him well and thank him personally for his years of service. We'll allow that to happen downstairs. We'll recess for 5 minutes, then we'll continue with the board meeting, and then hopefully the meeting will be short, and we will join you downstairs. Thank you. We're in recess. All right, we will reconvene at this time. We will, Chancellor report, transformation plan update.
May I go to the podium, please, Mr.
Yes,
Hendricks?
Chancellor, please approach the podium.
Thank you. Mr. Hendricks, members of the board, guests, we have our monthly update on transformation, and I will be, unfortunately, I guess for you, the only speaker tonight. I don't have my colleagues, but they're here for questions if you have any. So the first thing that we would like to do is show a video that we have put together. It's a short video that serves as a way to provide an introduction to the work, because not everyone is here listening to the presentations every month or listening wherever we are presenting. So we've been showing this at the colleges, and we have it available online. So we would like for you to see the work and the words that we're using to describe this work. So, Matt, what do I do? These are really exciting times for the Maricopa Community Colleges. We've been serving the community for many years. We are one of the key players in how the economy of the state thrives or doesn't thrive. And we need to be very mindful of how we educate students that can access those jobs.
We all have a stake in this, and we're all going to make a difference.
And this matters. And what we do in these next few years matters.
Because we need to adapt to the changes in the community.
And really put that student back in the center so that they can be successful, which is what we all want, which is why we're all here, it's what we're all passionate about. And that's why this is great. There are three areas in the transformation. One area is student support and guided pathways. We are developing new industry partnerships, and then we are looking at ways of making our enterprise, our institution, more effective and efficient.
Many students come to us not being sure of what they plan to major in. Guided Pathways and Student Support gives them the pathway to follow and the people to help them stay on that pathway.
Industry partnerships are critical to the work that we do in community colleges. Building connections, building internships is crucial to their success.
Through enterprise performance, we're not only going to have more engaged employees, but we're really going to look at our systems to ensure all colleges are working together and aligned and in tandem.
We don't want to become an antiquated system that can't serve the students, and this lets us have a chance to change that so that they can face tomorrow and they're empowered, they're ready, they have jobs.
The thing about the transformation is that we're leaving nothing to chance, that we're bringing all of our good work, all of our resources to ensure that no students fall off.
It is critically important that we are that solution, that we develop the programs and the pathways that get the students on that way to getting the jobs that are important to the state of Arizona.
It is a great time to be in Maricopa to impact student success.
The dedication, the hard work, the innovation that already exists in the faculty and staff around the district is going to allow Maricopa to be very successful with this transformation.
We're doing it for the students, we're doing it to serve the community, and at the end of the day, we're doing it because we want to have a state that is thriving economically with very engaged and educated citizens. So this is the first of many that we hope to record. We would like to have student voices. We want to have faculty voices. We want to make sure that as the work progresses, that we have a way to visualize the progress that we're making. So I have told, I think my faculty colleagues in the back, I'm telling people, when you get the call, we need you on the video because we need your voice. We want to hear, yes, we are excited about that. So tonight I'll give a brief update on guided pathways and industry partnerships specifically. As the board knows, maybe not everyone in the audience does, that we've been collaborating with the National Center for Inquiry and Improvement, and they're helping us develop the conceptual framework for the guided pathways and helping us identify the critical data, as you see, elements for that. They have helped with our researchers with development of a dashboard that our colleagues, national colleagues, are really impressed with the work that we have done, and they're planning to use that when they promote this work nationally. So I have a couple of screens just to give you a sense of what that is. So this one is data that is system-wide, and that's where we have all the colleges represented, the logos on the right side of the slide. And it is actual data from Maricopa. And then for each of the colleges, we have a similar dashboard data specific, in this case, to Chandler Gilbert. So I will be sending the link to the board so that you can go in and see the work and the data, and as we progress, what information goes on the dashboard. We have the institutes that we have mentioned before to you that will be led by our national colleagues. We have 3 in 2018, we have 3 in 2019. The first one is coming up, is a 2-day commitment. I will be there for the 2 days. We have teams from each of the colleges. We have leadership, we have faculty, we have staff. We are going to be hosted at Estrella Mountain Community College. Thank you, Dr. Lara. The next one will be May. That will be at South Mountain, October, Rio Salado. And then 3 more. It's a 2-year commitment for this work. The industry partnerships, I had mentioned back in December that we were identifying the institutes that we are developing first. So here is the list of those areas. The 3 bolded, advanced manufacturing technology, information technology, and cybersecurity, are the ones where right now we are scoping the work, identifying the players. We're leveraging all of the talent that we have, all of the good work that we're doing at our colleges, and bringing them together under that concept. The ones that are grade, the other 4 are the other areas that our teams have identified, and they will follow in terms of development after we complete the first 3. And as a reminder, there is a website where all of this work is uploaded and is available to anyone in the public to keep track of the progress that we make. So any questions from any of the board members? Mr. Sar?
Can you go back to the calendar of institutes? So maybe you said it, and I don't know. Which institute is institute number 1? I mean, are we looking at a specific?
I'm sorry, Mr. Sar. I see the confusion now. We should probably use a different word. So these are not the industry partnership institutes.
Okay.
This is the language used by the national consultants to bring us together for 2 days of work. So we should probably come up with a different label. I see the confusion now. So the work for Institute 1 is not connected to the industry partnership institutes. This is just 2 days where we have the teams come in. The consultants will be working with us, and they will be guiding us in how we move from where we are conceptually to the next step. They're going to make us accountable for the work. So that's what those convenings, maybe that's a better word, are. And they're not directly connected to these institutes. This is our language for academies or centers for excellence. Yeah, good question. I'm sorry that I should have cut that before.
So these will be the first 3 academies.
Correct.
Whatever you want to
yes.
change the names to. Okay.
Yes.
That makes more sense.
Yes. Thank you.
Dr. Thor, do you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Hendricks. Chancellor, first, I really appreciate you giving us these regular updates about what's going on. I also think the video is excellent and look forward to seeing more. Are you showing this video out in the community or just within our colleges? And if you're showing it out in the community, I assume that it is prompting lots of questions about what does all this really mean. And then one more question. When the board approved the transformation plan last May or June, whenever it was, we also asked that periodically we receive a report on how the $26 million the board allocated is being spent. And so perhaps in one of your future presentations, you can update us on where we are on that $26 million.
Thank you, Dr. Thor. The video is about 2 weeks old, I think. So we just unveiled. I used it when I went to Glendale Community College for the all-employee convocation. I know some of the college presidents used them at their own convocations because I got a lot of the comments from people who watched it. So we will continue to do that. I will be meeting with constituency groups. I will be continuing the student forums that I started in the fall, and I'm using the video at all of those. I will make sure that I use them in the community too, because people want to know how we're moving forward. So thank you for that recommendation. And yes, we've been a little slow in how we have allocated the resources because we wanted to make sure that we had clear plans that have metrics and measurable outcomes before we released the funding. So a lot of work had to be put in place before we do that. But we're beginning to do that. So I will make sure that next time I speak to the board about transformation, that we have information on the budget.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor. Moving on to the consent agenda. All items with an asterisk are consent matters unless they are removed from the consent agenda at this time. Any item may be removed from the agenda by the Chancellor as a matter of administrative prerogative or by governing board upon motion duly made, seconded, and approved. Consent agenda items will be approved by one motion and there will be no specific discussion of these items. Items removed from the consent agenda will be approved during the consideration of the non-consent agenda. Does any board member wish to remove any item from the consent agenda?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Saar.
For discussion of these two, I'd like to take off 8.3 and 8.4.
8.3 and 8.4 will be removed from the consent agenda. Are there any others? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
I so move.
I second it.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Consent agenda as amended passes. Item 8.3, approval of clarification of governing board policy 4.5, organizational meeting and board office elections. Can I get a motion to approve?
So move.
Do you have a second? Second. Mr. Saar, did you have questions or comments?
This is really a point of order on policies themselves. We have policies existing today, and these two that are before us tonight are changes to existing policy. For the record, I'm okay with both of them. My concern is that we also have existing policy that talks about how we consider changes in policy. And if you look at policy 4.54B, let me read it, it's very short. The board will consider proposed new or revised policy twice. First as an informational item, then as a recommendation for approval. Upon a majority vote, the policy will be incorporated into the board's policies. What we're doing here tonight is overlooking that first meeting where we consider the information item and have a chance to discuss it before we vote on it in the ensuing month. So I just want to make sure that if we're going to start picking and choosing which policies we adopt and conform to, then I think in my mind that policies become somewhat irrelevant. I think if we have policies, we can change them, but until we change how we do that, we have a policy that says that we have to view this revised policy twice, first as an informational item and then as a recommendation for approval. So I would urge the board to either consider tonight as the first read, or if that's not possible by open meeting law, then neither of these two are going to be effective until a year from now, so there's no urgency. I would suggest that we go through regular order until we change it, and postpone the vote on this until next month, which would be, if we go by policy, a first read. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Saar. Any further comments? Chancellor, I believe that we got a legal opinion from our general counsel. Would you like to share that, or would you prefer Ms. McConnell comment on it?
Mr. Hendricks, members of the board, I can share what was communicated by our general counsel, is that there's nothing in Arizona revised statutes that would require the board to act in a certain manner regarding its own policies, and that if the board chair chooses to bring an item for a decision to a board meeting, you certainly can do that, understanding that, as Mr. Saar points out, there is a policy about the adoption of board policy. In the case of this policy, because it is specific to behavior of the board and it's not impacting other parts of the institution, that you certainly, as the board chair, has the, it's your prerogative to take it to the board for action. And unless Mrs. McConnell has anything different to say, that's my understanding from general counsel.
Mr. Hendricks, Chancellor, members of the board, I have nothing to add to that from what the general counsel has advised.
Thank you, Chancellor. Ms. McConnell. Any further comments from the board?
Mr. Can you do a voice vote, please?
Yes, that'd be fine. Before we take a vote, I'd just like to comment that in general, I would support Mr. Saar's position that we need a first read and a second read. In general, the purpose of that is to allow the public to be aware of decisions we're going to make and have public input to the board members at a public meeting or outside of the public meeting. These two items are concerning how the board conducts itself. Public input is not going to happen and wouldn't be particularly relevant anyway. We're deciding on both these, how we govern ourselves and how we operate ourselves as a board. I don't see any need for a first read or a second read. With that, we'll proceed to vote. We'll have a voice vote. Item 8.3. Roll call vote, I'm sorry.
Do you have a list of the board members?
I'll help person. She's
okay. I'm sorry.
You need to call each board member by name, ending with Mr. Hendricks as the president as the last vote.
Aye.
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 Let me explain my vote. I'll vote nay on this, not because I disagree with the changes. I just feel that our policies are where they are, no matter what attorneys feel are legal. It's our board policy. So once we break this veil of policy, we have opened the door to picking and choosing what policies we decide we want to apply to or not. So I vote nay.
I vote aye. By a vote of 5-1, item 8.3 passes. Item 8.4. Mr. Saar, do you have additional comments on this one, or can we go ahead and vote?
They're the same thing, and we can go to vote. I'll have my same vote for the same reasons.
Are you requesting a roll call vote on this item?
No, it's fine.
Item 8.4, approve elimination of governing board. We need a motion.
So move.
Second.
Those in favor, express by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Item 8.4, approve elimination of governing board policy 4.9 passes. Item 11, human resources. Questions or comments? Ms. McGrath.
Thank you. We just had a report that we have 47,000 footsie, And as I recall, we were up to 91,000 at one time. Yet it seems that we do not reduce our staff. And I'm wondering when we're going to start reducing the staff. We're down, I understand, about 25% district-wide, and I would really appreciate it if I didn't see replacement after every name that has been a new hire. And I would like to have a reduction in staff because it makes no sense to lose all the students and keep up with all the staff. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. McGrath. Any further comments? Item 12, business services. Questions or comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll move to employee group reports. I understand the fact that the Executive Council has no report. Thank you, Mr. Mitchell. Governing Board reports. Ms. McGrath.
I don't have a report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Livingston.
I do not have a report this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Haver.
I would like to just mention that I attended the Paradise Valley Community College nurses pinning ceremony, and I've been doing that every year in December, and it's a very meaningful experience for me every time to see these incredible people, some of them young, some of them not so young, who are giving their lives to taking care of all of us. So I would just like to mention that. And that's really just about all that I did. I wasn't terribly active this month because it was Christmas.
Mr. President, I would like to make a short report.
Ms. McGrath, please proceed.
We have a wonderful musical ensemble at Mesa Community College, and they entered into a contest. There were 50 contestants from various groups all around, and they won. And fortunately, they have been invited to play at the Vatican. I'm very, very excited about that, and I cannot imagine what wonderful publicity it will bring to the district. I'm just as pleased as can be. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Ms. McGrath. Mr. Sarr.
No report.
Dr. Thor.
No report.
I have no report either. External community reports. Mr. Sarr, do we have any external community reports?
A couple things regarding ACCT coming up in a few weeks is their National Legislative Summit in Washington, D.C. I'll be the lone person leaving Arizona for the bright sunny skies of Washington, D.C. Unfortunately, I get there the 9th of February, which happens to be 17 days since they passed the resolution keeping the country open. So I've been told that hotels are not affected by this, so I will have a place to stay anyway. But among many committees that I'm on, the one that I look forward to the most is a committee that's advisory to the association. And their role is to look at the future of community colleges and their role in the future. The two main items that we've been talking about almost constantly every month are the effects that artificial intelligence will have on education in the future, and secondly, the effects that an autonomous vehicle world will have on our colleges nationwide. And I can get into this way too deep for a meeting like this, but I can assure you that what they're talking about is going to be extremely relevant to us, both in terms of how our content is delivered to our students and how students are delivered to us. So I look forward to those committee meetings, and I will bring back some of the new ideas that we derive from those discussions as I return from Washington, D.C., hopefully to a country that is in business. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sarr. For final announcements, I'm going to announce some committee appointment changes that we have made. Audit and Finance, our representatives on Audit and Finance will be Mrs. McGrath and Mr. Sarr. The representatives on the Foundation Board will be Mrs. McGrath and Dr. Thor. Our representative to ASBA will be Ms. Livingston. AADGB is vacant at this time, and we will make an appointment on an as-needed basis. Our next meeting is February 27th at 6:30 p.m. That'll be a regular governing board meeting. At this time, we do not have an agenda review meeting scheduled. The board is working on options that might make that meeting unnecessary, so we won't have to have all of the staff and everyone here for that meeting. We'll see how it goes and keep you updated. This time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned.